This week is St. Patrick's Day, and often we think about wearing green, gold at the end of the rainbow, and maybe the country of Ireland. But who was Patrick, and why all this talk about clover? Let's find out. Well, St. Patrick was a real man, and he was born in the area that is now England about 1600 years ago. So that was in the 400s. He was born in that area of the world known as England now, and when he was 16, he was kidnapped away from the land where he lived and taken to Ireland by Irish pirates. Can you imagine that? Being stolen away from your family and taken away on a slave ship to be a slave in Ireland. Well, there in Ireland, he had to be a shepherd. And it must have been something of a very lonely and sad job for him. You know, his parents were part of the Christian faith back there in the land that became England, but Patrick hadn't quite embraced that yet for himself. When he was alone all that time there in Ireland as a shepherd, he decided to think about Christianity, and he had a conversion experience of his own. Well, after he had been there in Ireland for about 6 years, he had a dream one night. And in that dream, there was something to the effect that it was time for him to leave Ireland and that there was a boat waiting. Well, Patrick decided that he would try to run away, and that is what he did. He ran away from his slave job and went to a seaside town where he could try to find a ship back to the land where he was from. He eventually did. And through a long series of events and time, he finally made it back to his home village, back to where he came from. Can you imagine what an exciting time that was? Well, Patrick got on with his life back there in the land where he was born. But then a few years later, he had another dream. And in this dream, a man was coming to him with letters. And in those letters was a call from people in Ireland to come back to Ireland. Well, Patrick, by now a Christian, kind of felt this as a sort of missionary call, and he agreed that he would go back to Ireland as a Christian missionary. So Patrick went back to Ireland, and he spent the rest of his life there. He went around preaching the Christian faith, baptizing people, ordaining priests, and it wasn't the easiest of lives. He didn't have the protection as an outsider. He didn't have lots of money, and he had to be careful not to look as if he was in this to gain money, which he wasn't. So he spent a long and somewhat difficult life there in Ireland, reaching out to the Irish people. He apparently died on the 17th of March, and that is why that day is currently celebrated as St. Patrick's Day. Now, of course, with people from a long time ago, legends always develop, and there's plenty of legends surrounding Patrick. Especially we think of the legend of the clover. And actually, we now talk about 4-leaf clovers and good luck on St. Patrick's Day, but probably this legend started out with a regular 3-leaf clover. And legend has it that Patrick used the 3-leaf clover, which grows everywhere in Ireland, to teach the Irish people about the triune nature of the Christian God. That is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that is how that legend came up. Now, no one can tell us for sure which form of clover is meant for St. Patrick's. Everyone in Ireland disagrees on that, and some people choose one kind of clover and some people choose another kind. So you can choose whatever kind is your favorite. Another legend surrounding Patrick is that he banned all snakes from the land of Ireland. Legend has it that when he was doing a 40-day fast, some snake attacked him, and thus Patrick made sure snakes would never come back to this island. But of course, the fact of the matter is that Ireland has never had any snakes that anyone knows of. But it's a fun story anyway. St. Patrick's Day is a perfect chance for us to add something to our nature journal. And spring is just around the corner, and St. Patrick's Day focuses on the color green. So let's dive into some activities that we could use in our nature journal. Let's talk about some nature journaling activities that would be perfect for St. Patrick's Day. You'll find a list of them with the PDFs. All right, so the first idea is to set a time limit or a number limit and see how many different things that are green you can find in your yard or out your window right now. So I'll tell you some of the things that I found: white clover, grass, daffodil greens, chives, hairy bittercress is coming up, crocus greens, the common plantain, moss, ivy, and lily greens. So perhaps you will see some of those in your yard, or perhaps a whole bunch of different things that are green. Another idea is to practice making as many different kinds of green as you possibly can with the paint colors that you have. I have 6 different paint colors that I use, and I was able to make all these different kinds of greens with them. So this is a really fun exercise and so helpful when it comes to nature journaling for springtime. How about creating a nature journaling page with all the different kinds of clover, or at least the 4 different kinds mentioned here on this PDF? You can put all 4 different kinds down, and then as you're drawing or painting, you might notice some similarities or differences and write them down as well. How about choosing one of the types of clover or shamrock and doing a bigger picture, and then looking up a few facts online about that specific plant? Something that would be really helpful is to look up online what bugs, birds, mammals benefit from clover. And really this kind of helps to expand our mind and realize the importance of clover for butterflies, birds, mammals. You could make another list for insects. It really helps you to appreciate clover. It's also really fun if you could actually get some kind of a clover plant to observe right in front of you. It makes all the difference to have something in person right up close. Maybe you have some regular white clover in your yard. You could bring inside and examine. Now, one more way you can feel a little bit more connected to St. Patrick is to bake yourself some Irish soda bread and enjoy that with a cup of Irish breakfast tea. So those are some ideas for nature journaling this St. Patrick's Day. I hope you have fun. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to consider joining me for my 4-week online nature journaling class for spring, Journaling Spring. It begins the first weekend in April, and you can do it at your own pace all throughout the month and afterward if you don't get through it all. I'd love to have you join me. All the information can be found on my website. I hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day and find a way to connect just a little bit closer with nature.